Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to Stranded Survivors. My name is Matt, and I'm one of your co-hosts.
My name is Jericho. I'm a co-host of the Stranded Survivors podcast, and today we have Kodeations. Kodeations, how are you doing, man?
Dude, I'm doing fantastic. Thank you very much for having me on the podcast. I appreciate it.
Yeah, man, it's gonna be a good one, man. I'm excited to kind of learn more either about your journey in Ark, your journey through content creation. I'm just kind of excited to learn, about it all.
Awesome. Well, I'm excited to give you whatever answers you desire, my friend.
Oh man, Matt, how are you doing today?
Doing good. I've had a lot of caffeine, so I'm feeling pretty up and ready to rock and roll. My kids are finally getting healthy again. Of course, the wife is getting sick. One kid gets healthy, wife gets sick. We just like a revolving door around here. But aside from that, solid. How about you?
Not too bad. Really just been working a lot. Been thinking a lot about, moving to a new place, moving closer to work, which will be nice. Don't have to drive 40 minutes anymore. Soon, anyways, December. Um, and just thinking about all that stuff. But other than that, work's been work.
What's new with you, man? Give us an update on what's happening recently for you. I'm like,
No, man, everything's going good, dude. I mean, we had a newborn child about 8 weeks ago, so we've been dealing with that, kind of managing that. My wife just went back to work because unfortunately she only gets like 6 weeks off from her job, which she's a teacher. Yeah, dude. I mean, that's pretty much it. I mean, work in church just like usual, doing content creation as soon, as much as I possibly can, working a full-time job, and then obviously being a father of two now. So yeah.
that is a full plate, my friend.
Oh yeah.
Congratulations on the newborn, though. By the way, that's awesome.
Oh, appreciate it, dude. Yeah, dude. Yeah, it's been a blessing. Like I said, a blessing and a curse, right? It's a blessing because we got a second child like we wanted, but obviously dealing with newborn stuff is always, not the funnest of things. But yeah, it's good.
The tired and exhaustion is real. So,
Oh yeah.
on behalf of fathers out there everywhere, I'll get an extra hour of sleep for you tonight, okay?
I appreciate it. Yeah, at least somebody's getting it.
Yeah, I totally get it.
Yeah, Jericho, for sure.
Yeah, I totally have kids. But oh man. Codations, man, how did you get started, on YouTube?
So, I originally got started actually during COVID. So, 2019, I believe, was when I originally jumped onto YouTube. I am a graphic designer as my day job, and back
Ah,
then, I don't even know. I mean, since I can remember, since I've had a mobile phone, realistically, I've always been into mobile games, and I've had a couple of content creators. Like eventually, once I went through school for graphic design, my first like 2 years out of college, I think is when it was, I ended up working for a couple of content creators on YouTube
really?
that did content on mobile games. What'd you say?
I said really.
Oh yeah, yeah. So I was doing like thumbnail works. I did like some logos for channels. I did some like overlays, that kind of stuff, like designing wise. And then eventually, when COVID hit, because my job, was sitting at a computer desk at a graphic, design firm all day, they were like, "Yeah, you can just work from home. It doesn't matter." So I worked from home for like 6 months. And during that time period, I mean, we were just slow. We were dead. There was like no jobs, like no
Mhm.
nothing going on. So for the most part, I was just getting paid an hourly wage to sit at home for the most part. So at that point, I had a lot of friends, like I said, creators that were already making content on mobile games that I had helped them with their channels for a couple of years. And so finally, I was like, talking to them. I've always mentioned it back and forth. I'm like, I really think this be cool. Like, I've got the personality to get into doing this. Like, what are your thoughts? And yeah, they just really pushed me to do it. So at that point, I kind of took the strategy that I knew with mobile gaming, and I was like, you know what, find a new game that's on the rise. It's about to come out, a new gotcha game, and I'll just start pumping out, videos for a gotcha game. And that's exactly what I did. And I basically, went from, I mean, I can't tell myself for sure, but I think the first year from like 2019 to 2020, like the full first year, I think I had like 12,000 subs like within that
Wow.
first year.
Holy
And
cow.
then from there, I just kept on replicating the process, from mobile game to mobile game to mobile game, like kind of like riding this hype train up. And then once the hype died out of the mobile game, which is, very common and pretty quick after like a couple of months, and then you just kind of like ride the next wave back up to a new one and you rinse and repeat the process. I did that, dude, for I think up until 2021 in January, and then from there, that's when I hit my big stretch. So a game came out, had a really really large loyal following for a mobile game, and then from there, I think I went from, I think at the time, like 20,000 or 30,000 subs to like 60,000 subs, like within
Ooh.
like a 5 month period. And then from there, that's when like everything kind of just snowballed and took off. And then unfortunately, by the end of 2021, 2023, maybe like the first 2 months, January, February, the game kind of died out. So as soon as that happened, then I went from, I think my highest month on YouTube, which was in 2021, I want to say like September or October. I think I made 10 grand in 1 month from YouTube ad revenue. And then I think that was like in like October. And then I think by January of 2023, I think my YouTube ad revenue on the same amount of views, if not, more, was like $1,500.
What?
Yeah. Oh yeah, it's pretty volatile once you get up there. Yeah, and so then at that point, yeah, I mean, I was kind of set to do YouTube full time. I was actually going to quit my day job as a graphic designer in 2023, and then that ended up not working out once I saw how much, how much a shift is as it could be. And then from there, yeah, I just kept on holding on, and then I eventually kind of burned out. I think between the lack of being able to achieve that goal, right, of going full time with mobile gaming, and then also, receiving that high, dopamine, right, from getting that large amount of sum of money for a couple of months, and then went down to nothing. I think between those two things, like, I think I just kind of burn out or like lost, a little bit of like that pizzazz. I guess I should say, but that's essentially what got me started with YouTube. And then I held on for about 6 to a year, maybe. And then I got to a point where I was like, yeah, dude, I can't do this anymore. So I ended up taking a hiatus from YouTube for like, I don't even know, a month, 2 months, and then decided to come back and, talk to all my creator friends, everybody that I knew. And I was like, I think, dude, I think like me being, trying to have a second kid and being a dad working full time, like, I'm like, I think I just need to, make merge my sessions, right? Like my time was running thin, you know what I mean? Like in my day life. So it's like, if I want to game with my buddies, right? If I want to do something, what games do I like the most? Well, I've had over 5,000 hours in ASE. And so I was like, let's just do open world survival games, right? Like ASA is going to be launching here soon. Like, like let's just jump into that and start doing it. Everybody I talked to, all my creator friends that have been doing it longer than I was, they were like, oh yeah, you can do that, but you need to slowly pivot, like start doing this and make some mobile gaming content and slowly do this. And nah, dude, I'm full ADHD. I was like, nah, dude, I'm all in or nothing. Like, I'm just gonna do this tomorrow, and it is what it is. Like, I don't rely on this money to pay my bills. Like, I don't care. Like, I'm just doing it, and it worked. I literally flopped my content overnight from mobile gaming content, mobile gotcha game, to straight, survival games. And then the next thing you know, I'm hitting 30, 40,000 views on Ark videos for ASA. And I'm like, yep, this is it. Let's do it. And that's kind of what I've stuck with since. I mean, I've stranded a little bit. I've kind of done a little bit of other survival games. If you look at my channel, I've done a little bit of, Enshrouded. I had a couple of good videos pop off there. I did a couple of videos for like Soul Mask. I did a couple of videos for Once Human, just a couple things here and there. But my bread and butter has been Ark since ASA has launched.
Yeah. I mean, I kind of went back to watch a little bit on, some of your videos. I knew you started mobile when I would look back. I'm like, I'm gonna go look at his oldest video.
Yeah, yeah.
So I watched part of that, different things, just whatever. And
Oh, how like on crack I was. It totally looked like I was on drugs. Like, you go back and look at it because you go through the YouTube, the YouTube antics, right? You don't really know your style, right? So you kind of like develop this like, I don't know how to explain it. You had to go back and watch the video, but it's like this weird shotgun, like, look back to the shit, blah, 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 you know what I mean? Like, just crazy stuff. So, but yeah,
yeah,
fun,
man.
man.
So I was gonna say, man, it was a big switch, and switching to Arc is just crazy. I mean, especially Arc had so much hype, especially ASE Arc. So much hype at the start. Bunch of different things happened, but
Mhm.
now we're in a kind of different state of Arc. Like I would
Yeah.
say, sadly, views are lower. We just
Oh, yeah.
kind of have. I wouldn't say there's a big content creator space around it. I mean, there's people. There's still a lot of people that play. Um, but Arc's just a different game in general. But I mean, I still love the game, man. This game's so awesome.
Oh yeah, no, for sure, man. I mean, like, yeah, you're not wrong. I mean, I think like yeah, I mean the hype. I mean, what Arc, ASA has been out what now technically for a year, right? Like, I mean, I'm pretty sure because it came out what October.
Yeah.
Yes, I mean, like we're technically over a year, you know, I mean, for ASA. And I think like for any game, I think like obviously that kind of happens a lot. I think you obviously have your outliers, but I mean, yeah, it's past, in my opinion, what I would consider like it's heyday prime. Like I think with it being out a year, yeah, I mean, you've got your diehard, creators that are always going to be in the space that were in there from ASC. You got, your big names. And they will always, generate, views. Obviously, like if you look at my content, you can see directly, like I can't tell you the last time I've had a video, hit over 20,000 views. I mean, I've had a 13,000 view back in October. But yeah, I mean, 15,000, I guess, in September. So really, realistically, I think my biggest ones are hitting right around when those updates pop. And that's kind of why I've kind of steered back on my content as far as, trying to really do the rat race when it comes to, like running guides or, running things like that. Because like you said yourself, I mean, it's really, really tough because you've got your limited eyeballs, on the game
Yeah.
to begin with, and then you've already got your limited amount of creators, that everybody knows, like in the space. So yeah, it's kind of tough to break through at this point, I think, with the game. Not that it can't be done, I think, but yeah, it's definitely something worth noting that I think it is at its point where, the creators who are established are going to be established and the other ones can kind of pick and choose here and there. I mean, and you will have those people that will, occasionally get a, video to smack off here and there, depending on what the topic is. But yeah, for sure.
Yeah, that's kind of
Yeah.
something that we sort of grappled with a little bit too. I mean, we talked to Netty the Noodle about it, and he sort of gave us the advice that it might be time to start branching out as some of the little guys. And I mean, unfortunately, it sounds like that you're kind of in that same sentiment of, there's only so much pie to go around, really, is what I'm trying to say.
Yeah, I mean when it comes to YouTube, it's hard, right? Because there's multiple sides of the coin. I mean, I could see the argument for both sides. If I talk to certain creators, I know for a fact that they would never look at it that way, right? I could talk to some creators and they would be very much like, oh my gosh, no, you can always build an audience here. You know what I mean? Like no matter what the niche is, no matter what the topic is, people will find you if they're meant for your content. They can talk your head off all day long about you can break into anything. And then you've got the more, I wouldn't say realistic, but I would say the more like strategic, creators where it's like if you're looking for eyeballs, right, and you're looking for more views, you got a list of things, right? You start at the top and you got a list of things that you can kind of work your way down. Like the first one is obviously new games, right? Like new games, nobody's got established creator, right? So those are going to be like way easier to get more views on. You know what I mean? And then you kind of slowly work your way down, like, okay, you got Ark Survival Ascended. The way I would look at it would be like, yeah, I mean, I think the biggest way right now to get views is what I'm not doing, which would be like, putting out challenges, right? Like unique takes on stuff. So to give you an example, if I'm going to throw somebody a video idea out there, it would be something like, I don't know, like can I tame every creature, on the island in, 50 in-game days, right? Or like, something like that where you're kind of putting like a challenge in perspective. You're not really giving a guide, you're not giving it a tutorial, but you're giving something unique, to an already existing audience. Like right now, there's I don't even know how many channels, me, Loaded Crisis, you got GP, you've got all these bigger other creators where all they're doing is news, right? They're pumping out, oh, we got brand new news, we got brand new updates. They're not making guides, you know what I mean? But then you also have like, Teach, and you've got, Roz, and you've got, how many of the other ones, that are like full on nothing but guide makers, right? Where like their entire channel, like they make a, I don't even know how to poop an arc, right? They'll make every single, like tutorial in there, on how to do every little tiny thing. And that's what they're known for. So, I mean, I think it can be done. I think you can break into it. I still think you could, but I don't know. I mean, I think for me, like, I'm kind of at the point with my content, not just because of Arc, but I'm kind of at a point with my content where I'm trying to really figure out like what my identity is, and I don't know how
Yeah.
like else explain that without sounding goofy, but like, yeah, I'm very much at that point where I don't know. I don't know. I've got so many games in the survival crafting space that I like, that I want to lean into, that I want to make content for, that have come out, that haven't come out. I just don't know how to really navigate that. Like I wake up one day and I decide like, oh, you know what? I really want to play Enshrouded. You know what I mean? I want to push some content out for Enshrouded. They just got a big update. But then on the flip side, you know what I mean? Then, I go to work and then all of a sudden I'm thinking to myself, I'm seeing all this content about Ark and I'm like, oh, you know what? I could go home and make a video about Ark today. You know what I'm saying? It's like, I don't really know what to do. So I don't know. I think it's kind of depends on who you talk to and what they say.
I agree,
Yeah.
man. Because, like, I mean, kind of like what Matt was saying, we've had a couple guests that are like, oh, yeah, you're not going to be able to hop in. Like, good luck. It's going to be a little hard. But then we've also had other creators like, dude, this is the perfect time to hop in because of this. Like you said, I don't know. It just kind of depends.
Yeah, I think it just depends on the type of content that a creator, like any creator listening to this, like even smaller ones, like I think it just depends on the type of content that you're making. I do agree with the idea that there is an audience out there for you, right? Like, so I don't ever want to like discourage a creator, from making content on any game or any topic or any niche, that they really love and enjoy, right? Because that's like the number one thing. Like, you have to be making sure that you're making content on something that you enjoy, that you're passionate about.
Yeah.
If you can't talk about it for hours, right? If you can't turn on a camera like we're doing right now, like we don't have cameras on, but like if you can't turn on like a, talk to somebody and that's all you can literally talk for hours about the content, then it's probably maybe not the best, in my opinion, the best niche or the best topic to get into. So I think like there's always obviously that, like, that's the number one thing. And then I think like if a person was going to try to make art content, I definitely think they need to come at it with a unique take. I don't think you can just turn on a camera anymore at this point, at least not for ASA. I mean, we're talking even for like Call of Duty, right? Like any of these big games, like I don't think that I think there's too much of an established audience for you to really just turn on a camera and just be like, yep, today we're going to be playing this game, man. It's going to be super fun. You know what I mean? Like, there's got to be something more to it. There's got to be something creative, unique there that offers something more that these other creators aren't doing. And that would be my honest biggest homework for anybody looking to be a creator, especially in the Ark space, would be go see what people are doing. Go look at the top 10, videos on YouTube, every single month, you know what I mean, for Ark, and, see what they're doing, you know what I mean? And then just see what you can offer. Can you do something different that they're not doing to make yourself stand out? I mean, that would work. I mean, in my opinion.
Yeah. That's funny because, that is kind of what, when the people were talking, like you said, it's like, you have to find your own thing. You can't keep doing what these people are doing. But you also have to enjoy it. So that's the hard part, right? Is, I feel like everyone can come up with these ideas of things to do, but nobody wants to put in the work to try these different things to actually, make it successful.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I mean, that's the thing. I mean, yeah. I mean, if this is not, it's completely unrelated related to Ark, but on the topic of YouTube, I mean, like, yeah, it literally comes down to how much you're putting in and like, and to get something out. And I think one of the biggest, like biggest things that I would stress, like from a YouTuber's perspective, from a person trying to get into YouTube, it happens every single day. It's happened in my DMs constantly from random people that have asked me for advice. I don't gatekeep anything. I will give any information and all information that I know and that I have learned from my experience on YouTube to whoever. And every time I've done that, I want to say 90, probably 99%. That's probably pretty high, but like 99% of the time, I don't think they make it past like a month. And that's literally because people look at content creation from the from an outsider's perspective of like, oh, that guy's just playing games and just talking, you know what I mean? Like, and boom, and he
Mhm.
happens to just make X amount of views, do you know what I mean? And then, and gets paid whatever dollars. Like, that's not the truth, you know what I mean? Like, if a person would come into YouTube and they want to make content on any game, like, it literally comes down to consistency. Like, you have to be consistent and you have to be patient. Like, you can't if there's no get rich quick scheme, right? So like you can't just turn on the camera and and there's no lazy scheme either, right? So like you can't like
Yep.
turn on a camera, or not even turn on a camera. I see that all the time too. People think they're going to come in here. Oh, no, I'm just shy on camera. I don't really. It's like, yeah, but you know what? Faceless channels can work, but I'm sorry, but like you're going to drown out in all the other thousands of faceless channels. Like the idea of turning on a camera and making a video and then just posting it and calling it good is like not enough. Like the
Mhm.
whole principle, like I go through, I mean, it takes me probably 24 hours, I would say, in total before I feel like I'm done with a video. And what I mean by that is not like me recording a video. Like I record a video in like 45 minutes, right? But then it's like I have to edit that video. Then after I edit it, then I'm like designing a thumbnail, but then I don't just design one, I'm designing 3 thumbnails. So then I can like, ABC split test them. Then it's like I'm checking on that video, within 24 hours, consistently, like how's the video tracking? Is the CTR good? If it's not getting enough click-through rate, maybe I should change the title. Maybe I should adjust you know what I mean? Like there's tons of stuff that
Mhm.
goes into it. And then it's also marketing and networking yourself, right? It's like putting your content where you can self promote that is allowed, right? Making sure that you're not even just self promoting, but staying active in those communities, like on the Reddit, on the Twitter account, in the official Discord, like, getting yourself known, not just for your videos and content, but like in general. Like there's a lot of work behind the scenes that goes into this kind of shit. Like it's crazy that so many people get into this or think they can get into this by just being like, I'm going to stream Ark every time that I play tonight at 9 a.m. And then you go to join their stream and it's like they haven't said a word in like 5 minutes, you know what I mean? And they're just kind of like staring at their inventory, looking at some materials. And I'm like, yeah, dude, this is why you have two people and one of them is your mom watching you. Like, this is exactly why. Yeah. I don't know. It's so weird, but it's the truth.
When it comes to different flavors of things and marketing yourself differently and all that fun stuff, in all of that, would you ever consider making a second channel and like marketing it completely differently and rebranding a different way like that?
Yeah, so I actually, on my YouTube channel right now, I actually have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 YouTube channels that I have created.
Wow.
Oh, wow.
So I have a second YouTube channel that almost is broke 500 subscribers. I haven't posted on it in a long time, but I made it specifically for Diablo 4 content before Diablo 4 launched. So I was making videos on that channel over there. I've got a second channel that I originally made for variety content. This one's at 1,500 subscribers. I made that one, and I was just basically playing games with my community, playing games with my IRL friends, any and all games. There was no like specific games, and then I was just using my main channel and main social media to kind of like promote it, cross. I made a channel just for survival games one time. It's up to like 40 subscribers. Never even posted a video on it, but then advertised that I was going to. Yeah, I mean, I think like it's not a bad way to go, making a secondary channel, and I've kind of explored that avenue a handful of times, and I do think that again, it kind of just depends on what your MO is, right, and what your plan and what your mission is for that secondary channel. I think what a lot of people in my situation where they're running a full channel already, I think what a lot of people really underestimate is the amount of time it takes to run just one channel, right? And then like the time it takes to run two channels. And that's like where I've kind of hit that wall, I was kind of telling you guys beforehand, I don't know if people know about the podcast like that are listening, but like so I'm 31 years old and I work a 40-hour week job, right? So Monday through Friday, I'm in an office away from my home. I get off every day at 4:30. I, get home. I'm the cooker of the house, right? So like I'm, making dinner, you know what I mean? And then after I make dinner, then I'm spending time with my 4-year-old son, now my second kiddo, swapping with my wife, taking turns with her, her crying or upset or, holding her. And then from there, we put our son down around 8 p.m. And then from like 8 p.m., this is how my schedule is every day, by the way. So at 8 p.m., we put him down roughly. It's like 8 p.m., 8:30 normally before we can get out of his room and, everything is done. Then I'm down in my studio that I just built. So like I'm like in my studio from, I don't even know, 8:30 until sometimes 2 a.m., depending on like what I got going on, right? It could be a live stream. It could be, videos. It could be editing. It could be, whatever it is, testing an alpha, whatever it is. And then at that point, I go to bed and then I wake back up at 5:45 every single morning. I take a shower, make my coffee. I'm back at work by 8 a.m. every morning. Kids are off to school, off to daycare. My wife is, gone. And then at that point, I rinse and repeat the process Monday through Friday. That's literally my life. There's no way right now in my schedule I could run a second channel. Like there's absolutely no way.
You need 30 hours in a day, I feel like.
Right. And so, in my situation, it's not everybody's the situation is the same. Like for me, like, I don't post daily content anymore. I just simply can't. I don't have enough time to do so. Prior to having kids, dude, I think my first like 2 years on YouTube, I had like, I don't even know, dude, 1,200 videos like in 2 years.
Wow.
Like I was like pumping out videos left and right like crazy. But I just can't do that anymore. I don't have the time, Now I've also got to a point, where again, marriage and 2 kids, like, I mean, weekends, have to be free, right? Like if I'm taking all my Monday through Friday days, what I mean? Like evenings, to be down here, clearly I got to maintain a relationship, right? I got to maintain a marriage and stuff, So at that point, yeah, that becomes Saturday and Sunday, So Saturday and Sunday, there's no creation, sometimes I can get a break if, kiddos take a nap or something and we're actually home, but most of the time we're not, we're busy doing other things. So yeah, Monday through Friday evenings are like my go-to when it comes to creating content, or AKA like we're doing here, podcasts, all that stuff. Like it's, yeah. And it would be crazy to try to do 2 channels. I had a person hired, obviously with the exception of hiring somebody, right? Like you can hire like a video editor, for instance, that makes things a little bit easier. That's what I did with my second channel. So my second channel, that 1,500 subscribers, I built in roughly about a year. And that was like strictly due to all of my gaming sessions. I was just uploading them to the cloud, you know what I mean? And then I would have like that hired on editor, and then they would just edit it down into clips. I would record an intro and an outro for that video. I would those together, splice them in, and then I would post it on that channel, right?
Mhm.
But the problem is what I started to see over time is the revenue wasn't the revenue of the content that I was making was not outperforming the amount of money I was spending to hire the editor. Right. So like I'm basically losing money. Every single time, like, like I would have that editor edit a video for me.
That's got to be disheartening.
Yeah, oh yeah, it definitely was. Yeah, it was super disheartening. And so yeah, I kind of hit a point where I was just like, dude, this isn't worth it. Like this isn't worth it. And I think a lot of it was because that second channel wasn't monetized. I couldn't get the second channel monetized, because at the time, now the restrictions have been limited. I probably could if I really wanted to try to do it, but at the time you had to hit, I can't remember what it was. I had the subscriber count, but there was like a certain amount of view hours and everything else, you had to hit at the time. It was like the old one. It was like I don't even know what it was. I think it was like 4,000 watch hours or 10. I don't know. It was something crazy, but it was like before they changed any of the restrictions, I had to hit whatever that original target was. And I had like the subscribers, but I didn't have the watch hours, and it was like all sorts of jacks. So in order for me to do that, I wasn't making any money on that channel, So like, yeah, I just kind of was stuck at a point where I was like, well, I'm just going to have to let it go. So I cut the editor loose, and I just started, still focusing on my main channel as much as possible. So yeah, I think people underestimate like how much work it takes, to do 2 channels, like to run 2. Yeah, that's crazy.
Yeah, that's fair.
At least a person in my situation. I mean, if you're in your 20s, do you know what I mean? And you got no wife, no kids, you're sitting at home, your parents are paying half the bills. Like, I mean, you bet your ass I would be hammering out content left and right. I would
Time to
like,
do it.
dude, when my son gets old enough, man, we'll be unboxing toys right on his right on his live
Yes.
stream.
Yes.
Let's go. Start them off
You know?
young.
Yeah, absolutely. Why wouldn't I? Like, that sounds crazy. Like, people talk about like, dude, do you know how insane that is? If you could have your child have a YouTube channel and start them off early, by the time that YouTube channel hits like 10 years old, you know how much like natural, like just reoccurring audience that they would have built up with that channel. Like, that's insane. Like, you would make so much money. Like, throw it all in a bank account for them and everything. Like, they would graduate college. They would even go to college, dude. They would be like, I'm just going to be a full-time YouTuber. This is
Yeah.
sweet. My dad set me up when I was like 10. This is awesome.
There is a YouTuber that my son really likes. The channel's called Like Nastia, and their family did the exact same thing. They owned like a construction company and like a wedding planning company, and the parents both sold their companies and helped their kid create content full time. And they've got like a ridiculous million amount of subscribers and all these crazy awards, and their channel brings in like $26 million a year or something crazy
Right.
like that.
Yep. Yep. And what a lot of people don't understand too is like once you build up that core audience, it like the rest of it doesn't matter because like once you hit a point, like sticking it back to Ark, once you hit a point like Roz, right? Like once you hit a point like to where you have that many subscribers and that many like loyal followers, it doesn't really matter what you really do when it comes to your videos. Do you know what I mean? Like if you look at like Roz's account, like anytime like like he would post a video, right? Like I mean he's going to be guaranteed 20,000, right? 30,000 views automatically, right? So like eventually you hit this point where it's easy to figure it up, right? Like like what you're roughly going to make on a 20,000 or 30,000 video like for your channel. Now I can't speak to his channel, but I'm saying but like everybody's channel has like this own amount. Like once you hit that point, then it's just steady income. You know what I mean? Because then you're just like whatever you're doing, whatever you're pumping out, you've got this loyal following. And that's kind of like what everybody's goal is, long term. You know what I mean? Like everybody's goal long term would be to, you build up enough, loyal audience that shows up no matter what. And then you just are reaping in that benefits. And then eventually you kind of flip the switch, right? Where like you still have to relatively stay in your niche, right? Like it's a lot harder to kind of jump from that ship to go to variety at that point. But like, I mean, staying in your niche, you can easily start pumping out random videos, random stuff being goofy and, just whatever. And, your audience is going to be there to watch it because they're just there to follow you. You're not really concerned with picking up the next, 50,000 random viewers. Like you are, like, it's nice when that happens, you know what I mean? But like your main bread and butter is like, as long as I make a video that my core audience is going to watch, I'm going to get paid.
What would you say that magic number would be for a YouTuber? At what point do you have the ability to be like, oh yeah, watch me peel a potato, check this out?
I don't even know. I hate to be that way, but like it's hard because numbers are deceiving. So like for instance, like you look at my channel, right? Like I've been over 90,000 subscribers and then I've been down to 88,000 all year long. I literally like go back and forth. I lose a handful, I gain a handful, I lose a handful, I gain a handful. And the amount of money that I'm making on my channel right now from the views that I get is nowhere even near livable. Like there's no way even near that I'd be able to live off of this money that I make per month.
Right.
But it depends because you can only see so much, right? Like on somebody's channel, and it also depends on like the value of their content. It depends on like, how much views are on each video, how much videos or views are netting in, and also a lot of times like the crappy thing is unless if a creator really opens up their channel to show you, like you can't see the back end analytics. You can only see like, oh, that guy's got 100, 900,000 subscribers, right? But like, and then you look at their videos and they're like, okay, but their videos are only hitting at 10,000, views, right? 20,000 views. So like, to me, it's like, you can only guess, you can only be like, well, there's this, here's the game. You can Google it. What's the average CPM on this game? You know what I mean? Like, and then you can kind of get a rough estimate. You can use something like Social Blade, I guess, to try to get, what their net, income is per month per what they have. But the problem is it's all variable. It all changes per channel. For me, I'd have to hit $3,000 per month. I'd have to at least be at $3,000 per month in order for me to really be like, you know what? Like, I don't even care anymore. Like, I can just do whatever I want to do. Like, as long as it's in Ark, realm, you know what I mean? I don't care. Like, at that point, I'd just start pumping out videos, like I'd probably do spotlight videos of each individual creature. You know what I mean? I'd be, random stuff. You know what I mean? I'd be, how many thylas does it take to kill the brood mother on alpha, right? Like, I would just be coming out with random stuff. You know what I mean? Like, that to see how many views or to see it stick. But I don't know. And it depends on a person's comfortability level too.
Yeah, that's fair. I understand that. Well, I do want to ask.
Yeah.
I told you this was one of the questions we asked, so I hope you had some time to think about it. What are your top 5 games of all time?
My top 5 games of all time.
Yes.
I want to say top. You said top 5, right? Top 5?
Yes.
Oh man. All right. So top 5 games of all time. It's tough, man, because I have more than 5, I feel like, but like I don't know. So okay, so I would say to preference this answer, I think a lot of this, obviously it's my personal opinion, but secondly, I think a lot of it could be mixed bag of nostalgia, right? Nostalgia. I
Sure.
think a lot of it could be my age, and then I think a lot of it could be the time of my life that I was in. But the top 5 games for me that I have loved was Fable on the Xbox.
Okay.
One of my favorite games of all time. I played Fable 1 and I played Fable 2. Really good games. Love the storyline. Love the character arc building. I loved the economy based system. You could buy and rent out houses. I absolutely love that aspect, and I love the fact that you had multiple endings of the game. That was a time of my life where obviously I was a lot younger than I am now, and I was very poor, so I didn't have a whole lot of other things that I could be doing besides like focusing on whatever game I had at that moment. And so that one I was able to sink in all of my time in, and I really enjoyed it. And to this day, I'd probably be willing to go back and try it out, or to play it if they did a remaster, or if they finally deliver the multiplayer experience like I really want them to bring back. The second game I probably would say, and I know this is going to trigger some people listening to the podcast maybe, but would be World of Warcraft. It's another big staple, I think, from my childhood. I played back when the first, like when Burning Crusade first ever came out. That was the expansion that I like started playing at my cousin's house. Again, we didn't have a computer. I didn't have any way to pay for or play it on my own. But living with them on and off as my childhood. I got a lot of like time playing on my cousin's account, and I really, really enjoyed it during Burning Crusade. And then from there, once I was old enough to get my own money and buy my own game card and all this stuff, and I finally, dabbled into it. That's probably been one of the games that have been a constant for me my entire life. Like, has been playing World of Warcraft, coming back, for multiple expansions, running guilds with people and, running raids, all that kind of stuff. I would say another big one for me out of the top five. So that's two. So Fable, World of Warcraft. I would say probably Ark Survival Evolved. And I say that because
Yep.
that's where I put in over 5,000 hours in. I played a lot of official. I played a lot of private servers back in ASC back in like 2015, 2016.
Mhm.
I just loved it. I just couldn't get enough. I played, as much as I possibly can. I would just, long hours. I remember playing on an official server, like to tame a T-Rex, for what, 5.5, 6 real hours. You know what I mean? Like swapping out with friends and then, for it to stand up and then somebody to come along, and kill it on a PvP server. Like that was crazy. So I'd probably say
That's
that.
crazy.
Oh yeah, it was bonkers. We would have like 4 or 5, IRL friends, and dude, I mean, it was wild. We were playing on PvP server on official network, and yeah, dude, on standard like normal rates, and it was like, I mean, I think it was like, I don't even know, dude, like 6 hours or something crazy, if not longer than that. And I remember like we were like sheep sleeping in shifts, like like one person would get on, you know what I mean, and then the next person would, because it was like we didn't start taming it till like 8:30, 9 o'clock at night, so then one person would get off for a couple hours and then get on, and then we like swap and make sure that somebody was there. Yeah, for it. And then no joke, it like stood up and then it like died within like 10 minutes from like, another PvP tribe that came up and ate it. Um,
I am a
yeah, so
Buddhist, but that type of stuff would make me a violent human being.
oh, it did. Oh, it did for sure. For sure. There's a reason why my community for Ark is on PvE. Um, yeah, no, it's definitely yeah, it was definitely one of those games. And I think again, it's been one of those big ones, like a big mark on me that I've really loved. And then I think honestly, another one that I'd have to say out of the top five. So we've got three, we've got Fable, World of Warcraft, we've got Ark, Survival Evolved, and then I would say like, I don't know, man. I think the third one for me is probably gonna have to be Destiny 1.
Destiny is good.
Yeah, I think Destiny 1. And I think the reason being is I was solely PC player when Destiny 1 first came out or was going to come out. My roommate at the time in college talked me into buying an Xbox One when it came out, just to play Destiny. Ended up getting an Xbox One, playing Destiny, and I don't even know how many hours I put in that game. We beat everything. We played it all the way up until Destiny 2 first launched, and then I absolutely hated it after like a week or a month, and I never went back and played the game. But I probably would say that it would
Destiny
have to
2, I
be
must
that.
ask.
I'm sorry.
What did you hate about Destiny 2?
Well, at the time, I hated that I lost all my stuff that was from Destiny 1. So at the time when they first came out with Destiny 2, I hated how like all of this stuff, that all the exotics that we ran for and pushed for like Vault of Glass and Crota and all that stuff, like it was all completely obsolete. And they're like, oh yeah, we're gonna completely redo the entire gear system, and then all your stuff and everything that you got like is completely useless now. Yeah, I absolutely hated it. It was the worst decision in
Rough.
the world. And I also was kind of on the fence about Destiny 2. I kind of thought it was stupid. Like, I really feel like the game was at its high point with Destiny 1, that they should have just kept on going with Destiny 1 and before they decided to, like, remarket as Destiny 2 and then introduce microtransactions and all sorts of crap, in my opinion. I just hated it.
Huh.
I made a couple bad decisions on that one.
And then lastly, I'm torn between two games. So the last one I would say would either be Minecraft or Diablo. And I think that's because again, it depends on what type of, what part of my life, that I was. Diablo, I've always been a fan of, and unfortunately I'm gonna have to be this guy, but I've always been a fan of it since Diablo 3. I played a little bit of Diablo 4, but at the same time I was playing not Diablo 4, Diablo 2. I played a little bit of Diablo 2 again from my cousin's house, but at the same time, it was also when I was introduced into World of Warcraft for the very first time. And I didn't get to play a whole. I didn't. I guess I should say I didn't put a whole lot of time into Diablo 2. I knew what it was. I played a little bit. I got to experience the Sacred Cow level, on D2. But other than that, I mean, it didn't trip my trigger as much as WoW did at the time. But I really came around to love it on console for Diablo 3, and then I bought it for PC when I got a PC, and I put in tons and tons of hours at that game. Bought Diablo 4 when it came out, put a tons of time in that game, beat Diablo 4. Yeah, I think it's just one of those like really awesome, rare, hack and slash, top down isometric, games that it's like if you're ever bored, you know what I mean? Like you can like always load up Diablo, and just like kill, minions for, 3 hours and then feel good about it going to bed.
Fair.
Yeah.
That's a good answer.
So that's kind of like the top 5. That would be my top 5, like games of all time. Which again, I don't know if that correlates, but yeah, there it is.
No. So I feel like we have had a couple people say World of Warcraft, okay, but that's I don't know, whatever. World of Warcraft, I love World of Warcraft. I talked about it before. Like World of Warcraft is really a fun game, even though it costs money to pay a subscription, but it's a fun game. But
I was always a RuneScape kid.
Yeah.
Yeah, I played a little bit of RuneScape back, years and years and years ago. But I think a lot of it had to stem from just we didn't have a computer, So the hardest part for me was we just didn't, I had nothing consistent, right? So like when I would play like RuneScape or something, you know what I mean? Like you're sitting at school, you know what I mean? Like you could play it a little bit here and there, and then from there it's we didn't have a way to play it, So that's kind of why like for me I didn't really dive deep into RuneScape until way after I played World of Warcraft, and then somebody showed me this and I'm like, what is this Play-Doh junk? Like this is terrible.
You are not
No offense
wrong. I
now.
have no defense. I have no defense. You're not wrong.
Yeah, well, I mean, no offense now, do you know what I mean? Like now I understand, right? And now I, have respect for it, you know what I mean? But yeah, no, originally I was very much like, what is this, dude? Like, no, dude, like this, like go play World of Warcraft. Like this is way better, you know what I mean? And then like, yeah, and then now, I look back at it and I'm like, oh, okay, like, this makes sense. And you level up all these skills and you get more proficiency in the skills by doing the skill, It's not like I'm a class and I get to pick 3 different options,
Yeah.
So I get it.
For me that drove me to RuneScape over WoW was just the simple fact of my family did not have much money back in the 90s and early 2000s, and when I started playing RuneScape in like 2006, 7, we could afford the $5 a month at the time, but we could not afford the 15 that was WoW.
Yep. Nope. And I I 100% understand that. Yeah. Like I said, that's why I didn't get involved into any of that stuff until I was able to afford my own.
Yep. 100%.
So, something that just kind of surprises me with your top 5 list, man. No mobile games. That was your roots. That's kind of bad. Like, what's going on here?
Yep. So, yeah, man. So originally the mobile game thing was, again, it kind of going back to, money and, time, I started playing mobile games solely because of the idea of, me not being able, right, to sit in front of a computer, not owning a computer, right, like not being able to do that, but having a mobile phone, I still allowed me to game. The same thing goes for, like getting into a point where when I was in college, right, or like in high school, you know what I mean? Like, again, I'm just busy with stuff, hanging out with people, girlfriends at the time, you know what I mean? Like if I'm going to their house and hanging out or doing whatever, like sitting on the couch watching some, whatever the case may be, wherever I was, I could play a mobile game. You know what I mean? I could pull up a mobile game and I can play it from anywhere, As far as like being attached to one specific mobile game, no, I never was. I think for me, it was very much like, once I really kind of started making content on mobile games is probably when I really hit it hard. I think up until making content on them, I was a free to play player, right? So like I never played like, gotcha games with a perspective of like, spending money. So I knew I was never going to be able to compete in something like, let's say Summoners War, right? Like I knew I was never going to be able to compete in like, real-time arena, you know what I mean, or anything like that, like against other people who have spent, hundreds and thousands of dollars, right? So because of that, I just was a casual Andy, I just played the game. It was just give me something to do, my free time. If I couldn't go home and pick up a console, or I couldn't go home and play on the PC, but I'm sitting somewhere, like I could easily open up the game and, do a couple summons and run a couple, bosses or dungeons or, whatever the content was, spend my stamina and, log off. But I don't think I'm partial to any of them. There's not one mobile game I feel like that would trump over my top 5 games of all time. Like, no, absolutely not.
Okay.
For the sake of sounding like a total moron, I gotta ask. You keep saying gotcha games. What the hell's a gotcha game?
So gotcha games. So the best way to explain it is that gotcha games are like they're hero collectors. So like let's say like a Summoner's War, for instance, right? I'm just gonna ballpark something because this is not the correct number, but like let's say they have like 100 characters or like heroes, that you can collect, right? You can have 4 people on your team at one time, right? Kind of like Pokemon style. You can have like 4 Pokemon out at one time, right? Like
Right.
the game itself, right, only gives you and every person that plays the game, right, like starts you off with, let's say, I don't know, 10 Pokemon. Okay. Like at that point, the only way to get more Pokemon is by rolling a dice. And if the dice rolls on a 1, let's say out of all 6 sides, if it rolls on a 1, then you get a new Pokemon. If it doesn't roll on a 1, you get absolutely nothing, but you've wasted the currency that you used to spin the dice to get one.
Jeez, okay.
Does that make sense? So,
Yeah.
like taking that logic, but applying it to a game. And so, what they've done in Summoner's War, for instance, it's called a gotcha game because let's say I don't know, you play 50 hours and you earn yourself 3,000 crystals in game, right? But then for a 10 pull, like for a 10 summon, like to summon 10 heroes with all different odds. So you have like, the best, let's say the best tier being legendary hero is like a 1%, right? Or like it's not even a 1% normally, it's like a 0.5%. But so like it's like a 0.5%, but then like you can get like an epic, like the next best, you know what I mean? And it's at like a 1%, or you could get the next, best, the third tier, which would be like a rare or something, right? And that's at like a 3%. Like basically for doing a 10 pull or a 10 summon costs 3,000 crystals. So like you've put in 50 hours into this mobile game, you can spin the wheel basically to summon 10, 10 guys or 10 heroes, 10 characters, and you could get absolutely nothing. You could get not a single legendary out of that 3,000 crystals that you just put 40 hours in, or you could get lucky and you can get 3 legendaries. So it's kind of like a gambling element added into the game. For you to get like better character heroes, you got to either spend money, because that's normally what those games have. They have options for you to buy currency directly, so you could go in there and be like, I want to buy 70,000 crystals, and you can spend $300 like USD, and then the same, and then you summon. But again, it's not guaranteed. You can get 70,000 crystals, and you can get one legendary hero out of a 70,000 crystals.
I mean, that's fair.
Lord.
It's
Okay,
hard
that's
to
fair.
explain. Yeah, if you've never played gotcha games or mobile gotcha games, it's a terrible, terrible, terrible thing to get into. I would never recommend it, dude. The content is nowhere near, in my opinion, on the same level of like an actual developed, like, UE5 game, like at all. It's not on the same level. It's two different, like realms. But there's a lot of money to be made in mobile games, and that's why a lot of mobile games come out. That's why a lot of big companies have been coming out with mobile versions of their games. World of Warcraft did it with Warcraft Rumble last year. Like there's so much money into it because kids have cell phones. You know what I mean? They don't always have consoles. They don't always have PCs. People want to play on the go, and they know they can get parents to, buy packs for them. If little Johnny's bothering his mom, can I have $5? I want to buy this pack of the game. Sure. You know what I mean? Like yeah, it's crazy and it sounds wild, but it's 100% the way it is.
No, that is how it goes, man. I remember playing Rise of Kingdoms as a game that always got me, or Vikings, this other Viking game. But those are games that got me. But so something, about mobile that we're bringing up here. Ark
Yeah.
Mobile, man. I've seen, you mentioned a little bit about it in some of your recent videos.
Yep.
But like, just what's your thought on that? Are you like excited for that, especially coming from a mobile, I would say like a background?
Yeah, so I am actually really excited for it. I'm really excited for it for a couple of reasons. I would say that one of them, obviously, because of my mobile background, right? Like I do like the idea of being able to play a mobile survival game, and I did enjoy playing Ark Mobile when it first came out.
Yeah.
The parts of Ark Mobile that I did not like, that I'm really hoping to see something different or see them rework this time around, um, would be removing the I don't want to say immersion, but like the work out of it. And what I'm trying to state is like I want them to stay true more to Ark, like the idea of loading up a mobile game or mobile, loading up Ark on a mobile device, right? Like to me, sounds great, right? Like I can sit, I don't even know, at the laundromat, right? And you can, play the game. Sit at the bus stop, you can do whatever, and you can load up and play Ark. That part I love. What I don't like is I don't like when they eventually got to a point where they were selling like, you know, oh, hey, you can buy this pack. And then this pack comes with, these 2 artifacts, you know what I mean? So you don't have to go grind out this, this cave, to like, go get this. Or you could buy this pack and it gives you an experience boost, so instead of like finding, the random, notes around, around the map, you can immediately get, a bonus, to your experience gains, by 5% for the next 3 hours, right? Like, to me, I hated that part. Like, I hated the idea of, it completely, in my opinion, taking away the challenge aspect of a survival game. You know what I mean? Like, it's like, why are we playing a survival game then if you don't even want to survive? It's kind of like playing like on a private server and they've got everything on instant tame. You know what I mean? Like, it's
Yeah.
just like, okay, this is stupid. You know what I mean? Like, in my opinion, it's like, why, like in my opinion, you're taking out at the core aspect of the game. Like, it's a survival game for a reason. You need to figure out how to survive. Like, going in there and being like, oh, I want this T-Rex. Oh, I knocked it out. I wasted 5 arrows, but I put a little piece of meat in their inventory and they instantly stand back up and we're good to go. Now we got a max level T-Rex. Like, I think that's stupid. Like, for me, that's what I hope I see with the new mobile game. Is I don't want to see, in my opinion, transactions, that are going to drastically change, the gameplay experience. But again, you know, I'm not saying anything. I mean, it's wild card, right? Like, it's Snail Games. So, like, I mean, I have a feeling that's going to be the case. They talked a little bit about it on the Extra Life event, that there will be like a battle pass system. There will be a
Uh-huh.
couple of those things. So
Yep.
I'm very curious to see like how the battle pass plays into it. Like, to be honest, would I buy the battle pass? I think for sure. I think I would buy the battle pass the first time around. And try it out. Would I continue to buy the battle pass? I think that's going to all just depend on, the quality of the game, and also, like, what exactly the battle pass gets me, and then, what exactly my motives are with playing the game. Because right now, from my understanding, it's, the feature that I want is not there. I really wish that they would have some sort of like integration. I really wish they would make the mobile version in a way, right, where you can log in from your phone. Imagine this. You can log into your phone and it would give you the ability to like feed your dinos, right? Like, or like if you're
Yeah.
breeding, you've got babies. I mean, you could log in. Let's say, I don't even know. Let's say you can't even go very far from your base, right? Let's say they got like a tether or something. I'd be even fine with that. Like you can log in. You can feed your babies, or pet your babies or whatever. Same thing goes for like reset timers. Even if you could just log in, and it just reset like your expiration or your decomp timer. Like things like that. Like, I think that'd be super cool. I don't think that's the case here. I think they're still going to be, separate. It's not going to have anything to do with ASA or ASE. I think it's going to be just a standalone game. I also don't like the idea that I heard recently that, they're going to end up charging for all the expansion maps, which I think is completely stupid. So, like, they didn't clearly learn from charging all the expansive remastered maps from ASA, right? Like, they're very much like, nah, dude, we're going to just give the island for free on on the mobile app. Anybody can download the mobile Ark and play the island map. But if you want to play Ragnarok or any other mobile Ark or mobile map game or mobile map, then yeah, you're going to pay separately for it. And I'm just like, okay, that's stupid. Like, you know what I mean? I'm thinking, nah, dude. I mean, which I understand. Like, I get it. From a developer's perspective, like, I understand, like, they need money. You know what I mean? They need, like, if they're going to spend time, reworking it and doing all that stuff. But, like, nah, I don't think so. I think, like, if they're going to charge for it, I think it'll just be the same as it was before. I think whoever was a diehard Ark mobile fan prior, like, they probably download it. They'll probably play it. I don't know about buying the extra maps. But yeah, I don't know. I mean, for me, I think my perspective is going to be, I'm probably going to have it on my phone. I'm going to have it installed. I'm probably going to make a handful of videos, when it first comes out. You know what I mean? Like, checking out the new battle pass, whatever it is. Like, I'll probably make some videos. But it'll probably just be one of those apps that'll be on my phone. You know what I mean? I'll probably play on the shitter, for the lack of better words. Sorry
Mhm.
for, not keeping it, family friendly. But, like, I think it's going to be like what it is, I think for me, laying in bed, randomly being like, oh yeah, I got Ark on my phone. Let's play Ark for a little bit, or at my in-laws' place for the weekend, like, we'll be staying the night there or something. And, all we got is internet and TV. So I'll just be like, oh yeah, like, I could load up Ark and play Ark for a couple hours until I fall asleep. I don't know. That'll be kind of what my perspective is from it.
Yeah. I'm actually like so excited. I wouldn't say so excited, but I'm excited to have it back on my phone. I didn't necessarily enjoy it, when it first came out. But like you said, I think it'd be really cool and interesting for them to add somehow. I don't think it's going to happen, but it'd be cool if you could, add it so you could feed your dinos or whatever. Like, I feel like people would want to play more. And I'm also the same way, like, either if I'm at somebody's house or something, that's when I'd play it. It's not going to be a game that I sit here and I'm like, oh, this is all I'm doing. This is all I'm grinding out. So I'm like in the same boat as you in that aspect of that. Matt, what's like your thoughts on that?
Unpopular opinion here, folks, but I tried Ark Mobile for a little bit when it first came out, and then I tried it again after they fixed it, and I, to be honest with you, just hated everything about it. I was of the mindset that if I'm going to play a game on my phone, I might as well play old school RuneScape, and if I'm going to play Ark, I might as well do it on my Xbox. So it just
Mm,
wasn't a set of mechanics that I enjoyed enough to consistently play on my phone. It was one of those things that, I got 30 minutes left in my shift at work and I've finished all my projects and like we're all just sort of looking at our phone waiting to clock out. Like that's the time when I would play it and probably no other time.
that's
Yep.
fair.
Yep, and that makes sense. And I think again, I personally think, you know what I mean, like that's probably going to be the best way to look at it, if, and I hate to say this because it sounds so cliche, but like if you're not a mobile gamer, right? Like I mean, and
Yeah.
I know that like that sounds wild, and I know people, you know what I mean, think differently on that statement, but like for me, I think it's just a different breed. I think it's a different breed, a different animal from like your normal gamer. I've got friends that are, or diehard gamers, and I've tried, over the years, you know what I mean, like convincing them to, hey dude, download this gotcha game, you mean on your phone, you mean like, play with me, you know what I mean, like I need guild members, you know what I mean, you can hang out, whatever, and they never last, they never last. And that was always the same kind of principle, because in their mind it's like, dude, if I'm gonna game, you know what I mean, like why wouldn't I just sit at my computer and game, right? Like why wouldn't I sit at my console and game? Like why would I settle for this subpar, you know what I mean, like mobile game, you know what I mean, when I can just play Call of Duty, or I can play Ark on my
Hmm.
computer, whatever it is, So I get it. I think again, I think it's just a different breed of a person. I think it's funny when you see companies, and I'm going to use Blizzard for example, but you see companies, you know what I mean, like that for some reason seem to think that they're one and the same. And I don't think they're one and the same. I don't think that a person that's playing, mobile games all the time, do you mean is also the same person that's playing PC or console games? I just don't think that's the case.
Sometimes it is, but statistically speaking, no, you're correct. It's not.
Right. Right. And like I said, and yeah, sometimes for sure. You know what I mean? I'm one of those examples. You know what I mean? I play mobile games every single day. I play a mobile game on my phone constantly. I play, at work. I play on Steam on my computer. You know what I mean? Or, I play on my console. Like I'm just a gamer across the board, right? Like yeah, it doesn't matter what it is. You know what I mean? I'll be playing something. I play on my Switch every day with my son. Like, so yeah, we
I'm telling your
exist.
boss.
We exist, but yeah, it just doesn't tell my boss. But yeah, you know what I mean? We exist. I don't think it's the norm. I think majority of the time it's not the case. I think people find their platform, their preferred platform that they play on, and that's normally what they play on. And like I said, unless if there's some sort of crossover, you know what I mean? Like that's an exception to me. If Arc was to make something integratable, like think about that. Like, even if it was like, I don't even know, even if you couldn't like manage or like control your character, right? Like, even if it was just like some sort of system where you can like punch a couple buttons or something and it would do something, like, I don't know. Like, I think like that would be way bigger, like as far as like the hit than, a mobile game from their audience. And I would be willing to bet that if we could look at statistics, I would be willing to bet that I don't think that the same players that they have playing on their PC version on Steam and the same players they have playing on their console are a direct or a direct match to the people they have playing on the mobile game.
The only way they would is if it's got that direct translation, like you said. Because I mean, old school RuneScape. Hate to use it as the example every time, but it's got it has that mechanic. I can be doing Slayer on my PC and killing people in the wilderness, and then like, oh shit, it's time to go to the store. Okay, sweet. Well, while I'm waiting in the checkout line, I can pick up my phone and continue exactly what I was doing with absolutely
Correct.
no slack. And
Yep.
if they
Correct.
did that for Arc
Exactly.
Mobile, I'm all over it because that would make
Yep.
taming possible. That would make raising babies possible on the schedule of a full-time father and like worker. So like, it
Yep.
would change everything if they did that.
Yeah, 100%, 100%. And again, and I don't, I mean, I don't know what their plans are. You know what I mean? I have no clue. Like that could be a thought process. Maybe it's on the board. You know what I mean? To eventually try to do something like that. I have no clue. I just know that, yeah, for me, that to me would be the only way. Do you know what I mean that you're going to convince a person, who spends 5,000, 6,000 hours into Arc? Do you know what I mean, on the PC, to like, to put that kind of time into the mobile game? Like that's just my personal opinion. Unless I don't know, again, I guess you always have your one-offs, but I mean, I guess unless if you have a person that's got a specific situation, right, where like, they're not able to play at their PC all day long every day, maybe I could see them, running, two different accounts, one where they play at, such and such spot, what I mean, for a mobile because that's all they have. And then, next, then when they are home, then they can play on PC. I guess I could see that happening, quite a bit, but I don't know. I still think that's a pretty niche, a niche situation. If a person's, I don't know, just trying to take an example, but like if a person's, you know, working away from home, for 3 days out of the week, right? And like, they don't have a PC wherever they're going. Like I could see that being the case, but I don't know. I think majority of people that's not the case. And I don't think that it's going to be the same crossover, like as far as the same players. I think people will try it just like other games, they'll try it because it's, part of the franchise. And then, I don't know, you give it a month or two and then those people aren't playing it anymore. They're playing on their whatever console they prefer.
Yeah, I think you're right with that, man. I'm not, I don't know. Like you said, I just think, as we stated, that there's not going to be a direct correlation between that. But I think there are going to be a bunch of people that play. Like I feel like Ark Mobile is a hyped thing. Like people want to play it, like you said. But it's the mobile gamers that want to play it. It's not like it's the people that don't have consoles or don't have PCs are the people that want to play that.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. I mean, and don't get me wrong. I mean, I mean, from what I've seen, over the years in mobile gaming, like I have always, always, always wanted a really good survival game on mobile. And I mean, I'm going to be honest with you. I don't think it exists. Like the only mobile game, that I could come up with, that's really a survival, type game is, completely different from Ark. You know what I mean? Like it's definitely more of like a Last of Us kind of, DayZ kind of style game. You know what I mean? And so like, coming up with a game that, allows you to tame things, you know what I mean? It like basically has all the same functions that ASE, like that's, in my opinion, a very unique, like app that would be on the App Store. So absolutely, I think it'll be popular. I don't think they'll have a problem, maintaining a player base. I think they'll have a lot of people that will be interested in playing it. And I obviously think, when it comes down to the audience that played on the original mobile version, you know what I mean, that's been waiting for it to come back to the App Store, I think for sure is going to be playing it. Like they're going to be waiting to jump in there the moment they possibly can.
Yeah, I agree with that.
So I don't think it's going to flop, but yeah, I definitely think it's one of those things where, it depends on the person, depends on, who is interested in playing it and who's not. And I think it'll get a little bit more of attraction when it first launches. But for me being a mobile gamer, yeah, I'm excited. I'm excited to try it out, see what it's all about.
Yeah, for sure. Well, I want to know what your, favorite Ark map is.
My favorite Ark map, I would honestly have to go with probably Ragnarok.
Okay, good. Okay,
Always.
that's a good one.
And I think, well, and it sucks because my answer is very, very limited and biased because so when I played Ark, I've got over 5,000 hours in ASC, and that was literally from like 2015 to like 2016. Like
Yep.
I put in so much time in the island, Scorched Earth, and the center map. That was like the
Yep.
three big maps that I played the most of my time in Ark. I ended up leaving, taking a hiatus, playing other games, getting busy with life, doing other things. I ended up coming back for like 1 week of Aberration, and that was it. And it was like on a private server, super boosted. You punch like, one tree and you get like 500 wood, like infinite weight. Like, I didn't really get the full Aberration experience. And the same thing goes for, then I quit, I moved on, did whatever else I was doing at the time, lost in whatever. And then I ended up not coming back until Rag. And then when Rag came out, I probably put about 200 hours in, 300 hours into Rag, which I know isn't a lot, but like I put that into Rag and really enjoyed it. I loved like, having the variety of, the different, biomes and the different things, across the map and, being able to, experience all of that all on the same map. And the map itself was just really beautiful and a nice change of scenery, compared to the other ones that we had that have launched out in the game. Yeah. And I think that's probably would be my favorite, be Ragnarok. But again, I like I said, I'm limited because I didn't play anything be after that. I never played Valguero. I never played Crystal Isles. I never played the Lost Island. I never played any of that. So I don't know. I never played Genesis. I never even knew like any of those things. Like I watched like, some of the release trailers and I watched some of the stuff like when they first came out. But even then I just, yeah, I never got back into it. I think I was playing WoW. I was deep into, other games and yeah, never came back around to try out those. So I am curious to give them the shot at some point, like, when they come out for ASA.
Yeah, for sure. I understand that. I'm kind of like that. I haven't played a lot of the newer maps. I played Rag. I played a little bit of Val. I didn't really play Genesis. Like, the stuff that felt like too kind of futuristic to me, I didn't necessarily care for, or like added too much into it. I didn't necessarily play. But I loved Rag Center, the basics, kind of what you were talking about. Those were kind of some of my things.
Yeah.
And then
And I was also a
also, go
social
ahead.
gamer too. I was kind of changed, you know what I mean? Like, what game I was playing at any given moment realistically to, whatever my friends were playing, unfortunately. And, if I didn't have anybody playing, Ark with me at the time, didn't mean like I wasn't going to load in and try to just solo play, you know what I mean? So more often than not, I was playing whatever they were playing.
Yeah, that's fair. Well, something I wanted to bring up, I mean, I've heard it from your videos. I can hear it in your voice when you talk certain times,
Yeah.
okay? But is just it can be, I know you probably, it's going to be hard to make quick, but I just have to point out the fact that you and Matt both love microtransactions and they're your favorite thing ever.
Yeah,
Fight
I
you,
mean,
Jericho.
like,
I said, I'll fight you, Jericho.
I don't know. I mean, like, I'm kind of torn. Like, I mean, when it comes to playing mobile games, dude, I have played, uh, I have played so many mobile games where I have, obviously bought and paid for, my microtransactions. Um, but in my defense, I think a lot of it was due to me being a content creator for that game, right? And so realistically, I kind of hit a point where making content on mobile games, as a free to play player, it works. But the problem is you can't really keep up with like, whatever the newest content that comes out is if you're not spending money because,
Yeah.
you're leaving everything to chance, right? So like, being a free to play player, you only have so much currency going into an update that you've saved. And then, once you spend through that currency, if you don't get that new character, right, then you can't make a guide on that new character, right? You can't do a spotlight video on that character. If there's new content, for instance, that's locked behind, let's just say some sort of power level. But yet, in order for you to grind that power level out, let's say you need a piece of gear, and that piece of gear is also hidden behind a gotcha banner, right? That's like a rare chance or chance percentage. Again, you're kind of stuck, right? If you can't get that, new piece of gear using the resources that you had that was free, you know what I mean, to then unlock the new content to do it, to then make a video, you can't. So you're kind of
Yeah.
like stuck in this realm where you kind of have to spend money. You have to buy the transactions to give you the extra summons, to give you the extra, boost that you need in order for you to cover the new content to make the videos. So, I mean, obviously I went down that road, and the nice part about my system that I had set up was I was spending way less than what I was earning from my content, right? So the
Yeah.
content itself kind of paid for the microtransactions in a way. Um, but on the topic of microtransactions in general with gaming, I'm probably very much in line with Matt on this one, where I just don't. I honestly think it takes away from, the principle behind the game. And I think it's very scummy in the sense of it. I don't know, man. It's just it's in a way where it's done, you know, instead of, in my opinion, instead of them coming out with content, right, that would be what I would consider quality, right? If a company like Destiny 2, right, or these other games, like, if they come to the conclusion where they start introducing microtransactions, and these microtransactions start actually having an effect on the gameplay itself and giving players an advantage over another player who did not buy a microtransaction, for me, I very much, it loses its respect, and it makes me feel like their intent from the beginning was not to develop a good quality game. Their intent from the beginning was to develop a good quality game, but then to subsidize and take away the good quality elements from it and then hide them behind paywalls just to get people to pay money so then they can make money. And I'm gonna throw Wildcard a little bit under the bus, or Snail Games under the bus on here. And I don't mean this in I don't know, you take it for what it's worth, but it's all
Right.
facts. Okay, it's all facts. One of the biggest problems that I had with ASE years ago, we're talking 2016, 2017, probably around the center. The This isn't microtransactions, but it is in a sense the same topic. I hated how Wildcard and Snail, they were making enough money on pumping out new DLCs or new maps or new content that, in my opinion, they stopped giving a crap about fixing the base code or the base problems in their game. So for instance, when the center came out this time around for ASA, right? I made a video, and it's my biggest short from 2024. I've got a YouTube or a short on TikTok, I believe, that's got almost 600,000 views, and it's literally when the day one of the center launch for ASA, I loaded in, and the exact same bug of the water, like standing underneath the water and walking around, existed in ASA as it did when the center first launched in ASE.
Nice.
That's crazy to me.
That's the recycled code that I was accusing them of
100%.
because they claimed that it was all a from the ground up rewritten
Yeah.
game, and
Yeah.
I call
And
shenanigans on that. The 50/50
yeah,
glitch is another one.
and on top, and on top of that, like they literally listed out. This was literally what my I can't even remember what the heck my exact wording was, but it was something like, "Bro, they said that this was a complete revamp of the center. That they've been working on this. Like it was vastly different. It looked different. All these things. It launches. It's exactly the same, dude. The same bugs, the same copy and paste, the same pattern, the same texture stamp on the damn walls. Like everything was the same. Like there was no TLCs done whatsoever." Besides the fact that they brought it from, Unreal Engine 4 or whatever it was from ASE to Unreal Engine 5, like on the code base. And like it was wild to me, like how it was the exact copy and paste. And again, this is why I bring this up. Like, I know it's not microtransactions, but I believe microtransactions constitute the exact same or result in the exact same situation where companies develop a good base version of a game. They draw up a lot of attention. They hype up their game. All these players load into their game. Everybody's enjoying it. All of us, and normally this is how it goes. Everybody's enjoying it. Everything comes off like relatively free, relatively easy to achieve. Like people can, collect this, do whatever, the case may be with the microtransactions. Boom. All of a sudden, they release something that's controversial, right? Like, oh my gosh, like the pyromane, right? They release something, that's controversial. All of a sudden, the community splits, right? People are like, F this game, this is ridiculous, blah, blah, blah. You're like, I'm not doing this. Like, you're going up against somebody. I didn't buy the pyromane. So then therefore, like I'm getting shredded by the pyromane. This is ridiculously overpowered, blah, 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 blah. Then you got the other half of the community that's like, oh my gosh, this is pretty cool. It's a new creature. You had to pay $5 for it. But you know what? Snooze, you lose. Ha ha ha. I could take over the server, right? Like, whatever. Then, in my opinion, what does that tell the developer? What message goes back to the developer? Do you think the message that goes back to them is all right, cool, you know what I mean? Like, they like these little paid packs. I mean, we can continue working on that, but man, we really still need to stick to our base mission. Let's keep on ironing out, fleshing out the game, making sure there's no bugs, there's no glitches, no hangups, make sure that the island is really good. This is really good. Like, no, that's not what it shows them, right? Like it goes, maybe that's the developer, it does, but like the person who's making the decisions, like above them, like, in Snail, like whatever, like, no, their job is business, right? Like they see like, oh wow, like, you know what I mean? We've made $6 million on selling this $5 creature. Like, yeah, there's like a side of the community that's really pissed off that it's overpowered, but that's okay. Let's just balance that out by like waiting a month or 2 months, you know what I mean? And then we'll just drop a patch update for that creature, right? Kind of like nerfing it down, you know what I mean? So then like we got all the initial sales, you know what I mean, on the first buy-in, and then now, people might not buy it as much, but that's okay. We'll just work on the next, paid pack for $5, you know what I mean? And then people will all rave up to buy that one because they know it's going to be overpowered, until we put a patch out. You see what I'm saying? Like that's the mentality that it builds,
Yeah.
like we are the consumers, and that's like the best way that I try to explain it. Like we're sending the message. If we watch somebody's content but hate the creator, you're just still supporting that creator. You know what I mean? If we're buying a DLC, but then like actively saying like we hate DLCs and we hate buying microtransactions, well, we're still actively supporting the thought process of buying the DLC. It's the same. It's just, it's hard to explain, but like that's the problem. I mean, that's the problem with, the way the world works right now, and especially in the gaming space. It's yeah. I mean, I don't like microtransactions as much as the next person because I feel like that's what it does. I mean, I feel like it sends a different a signal that's not good. It sends a signal of saying, hey, we're all ready to buy this. Just keep on pumping out more paid content. Don't worry about fixing your current game because we're going to sell you a million. We're going to buy millions worth. You mean, of your paid stuff. And I feel like that's what happened with ASE. I really feel like that's what happened. They kept on pushing out new DLCs, new maps, new DLCs, and they just stopped. They just stopped fixing the game. They're just like, nah, dude, why would we spend hours doing that? We could just push out this map and somebody will buy it. Oh, we should put this out, this map. So, we'll get a huge influx of players. Like, let's just keep on doing that. I don't know.
conversely, I want to point out the opposite side of it because that's one side of the coin, yeah, of like, yeah, let's keep doing this and forget the fixes and all the bug stuff and things like that. That's one side of the coin. The other side, and a good example that I'd like to bring up, is the Sims franchise. That is one franchise that has expertly crafted an economic structure where me as a consumer who hates microtransactions, I am embarrassed to admit that I've probably dropped like 140 bucks on The Sims 4 because, cottage living comes out and like, hell yeah, I want to get a cow. And then, get to work comes out. I'm like, what? I could be a doctor, bro. Like, that's cool. Those are cool DLCs and microtransactions that they add more to the game. They create whole new variations and ways to play the game. And since it's a single player game, it doesn't really affect anybody else. So, like, that's a structure where I'm all for it, you know?
Yeah. No, and that's not a bad way to look at it. And I do agree with you. I definitely think that microtransactions and DLCs and stuff, like, I mean, if you really think about it, like a DLC realistically before microtransactions was a word, like DLCs were microtransactions, right? Like, I mean, and when you look at it in terms from like a DLC, I think it makes sense. Like, you're 100% right. I think like if they were to, open up, let's say what their term they're using now is premium mods, right? Like, let's say like you were saying with The Sims, you know, what's the correlation to that for Ark? That would be like a brand new map, right? Like if they released a brand new map or a brand new themed map, right, where it's like all Viking themed, like Schvartalheim or whatever it is that Nakatis has come out with. Like, if that was released, right, like as a premium paid, map, like, hey, you could buy this premium paid map. You know how, don't you want to be a Viking running around, taming dinosaurs on this, new uncharted, Viking land? Like, I probably wouldn't care about that, right? Like, who cares? You know what I mean? Like, you have to own the map to play the map, right? So it's not like, you're going to load in there and get an advantage over somebody else. Do you know what I mean? Like, that would be an example of something I wouldn't care about. Or same thing goes for, like, I don't know, a cosmetic pack, right? Like, if going back to The Sims, you know what I mean? Like, oh, you want to get, I don't even know what it would be. We'll just go Viking again, oh, you want to get, Viking looking, chess piece for your survivor, right? Like, instead of the standard flak look, like, great. You know what I mean? You can absolutely do that, custom cosmetics, yeah, go ahead and download this pack. Diablo 4 does that, right? It doesn't give you any advantage. Like, that part to me, I could care less. I'm fine with those things. The things that I don't like, would be like for the mobile Arc version, or at least the first mobile Arc version, when they're selling like experience bonuses. Like on an official map, right? Where if you didn't buy it, you know what I mean, you're losing out on 5% experience bonus, for the next 6 hours. You know what I mean? So I'm going to be able to out level you fast enough. You know what I mean? If we load it into a map, or being able to buy, I don't know, dude, buying a creature. That is crazy to me. That they decided to throw in a pyromane paid only creature. You know what I mean? Like, that's wild. Like, in the fact that it spawns in the wild too. You know what I mean? Like, but you can't interact with it. You can't touch it. You can't interact with it, but it can still interact with you. It can still kill you. Do you know what I mean? But you can't do anything with it or do anything unless you buy buy the $5 pack. That's insane to me.
Yeah, that is. I mean, it's a
Yeah.
big game changer in general, and I feel like so many mixed opinions. Some people are like, "Oh no, this is great. I love it," and then other people are like, "No, this is straight terrible. Like, it affects the game. It affects any sort of the game because, like you said, you can't interact with it as someone who doesn't have it. Like, there's just so many mixed opinions. It's like it was especially one of the biggest talking points in all of the community.
Oh yeah, and it still is. I mean, it still is to this day. I mean, anytime they come out with another fantastic tame, you know what I mean? Like, it's the same kind of principle. Like,
Yeah.
the first topic is, how pay to win is it, right? What's the advantage that somebody has, over somebody who doesn't have it? You know what I mean? Like, there's a variety of different, ways of, looking at the situation. But yeah, I mean, I totally think that, again, you kind of run into that same conversation every time anything like that is released. And it just sucks. I mean, again, to each your own. I mean, some people like it, some people buy the pyromane, bought the pyromane and they love it, you know what I mean? And it's great. I bought it because it's something new. I'm a content creator, right? Obviously I wanted to make videos on it, like it's, I don't know, I mean, I get it. But at the same time, like, I also think that, like, Matt was saying, I think there's a time and place for microtransactions. I think there's a
Yeah.
good way to do it. I think there's a bad way to do it. I think there's a scummy way to do it. I think it just depends on how, it's laid out. You know what I mean? I don't know.
Yeah. Well, kind of the last thing before we start wrapping things up
What's up, dude?
is, what is your favorite dino in the game?
Oh, well, for the longest time, it was the Spino.
Ooh.
And that's just
Good
because it was
answer.
been my favorite dino forever. Like it's just, the Spino, I thought it was always super cool. Playing Ark in 2015, obviously it was like the one that I was feared the most, running up onto a Spino, you know what I mean? Like it was, like it was crazy, right? It was huge, it was massive, it was hard to run away from. I mean, it got the water buff, it was super cool. I think honestly though, I think it's kind of changed playing the island as much as I have for ASA to the baryonyx. I think it's changed to the baryonyx, and I think that's
Wow.
because of the like variety, you know what I mean? Like in use
Yep.
cases and stuff, at least in ASA. I mean, if we're talking like real life, dino stuff, I mean, I think I've always liked the Carno just because it looked cool, you know what I mean, with the
Mhm.
horns and everything, and it took on the T-Rex.
Yep.
But I think like in game, yeah, I think it's the baryonyx now. I just like the
Wow.
fact that it's like more versatile. It's you got the spin stun, which is really, really nice. You get like the instant heal for consuming raw fish in the water. You get the buff, like that it can go into caves prior, to
Yeah.
the new cryopod update on PVE. Like, yeah, I don't know. I think it's just really good. It's a strong swimmer. It does pretty good damage. Yeah.
Nice. That's awesome. I've never heard that one yet, so good for you,
Good
man.
answer.
And then as a secondary one, I guess that I just discovered with Astraeos that came out, I had no clue, dude, was the Moz Chops. I think that
Ooh.
Moz Chops is the best early game tame that anybody ever could try to tame and get. And I'm completely oblivious until Astraeos came out. I literally was live streaming and discovered the Moz Chops. Like I knew what it was. It was just one of those dinos I always ignored. I didn't even realize that you could ride it bareback. I had no clue. I never
Wow.
even tamed one to even know.
Oh my gosh.
And I had over
You feed
5,000
it
hours in ASE.
white
I had
berries.
no clue. I had no clue. And I was literally live streaming and I'm like dying over and over again to like raptors and like stuff spawning in Astraeos. And I'm like, bro, I can't even catch a break. Like, what am I supposed to do? And I spawned in and I walked up to a Moz Chops. And for whatever reason, like, I don't even remember what it was. It needed like a Tento berry or something. And I hit it and it tamed it. And I was like, dude, no way. And I'm like, okay, what do I do now? And then it was like ride. And I'm like, chat, I can ride this thing without a saddle. And like I hopped on the back and I'm like, oh my gosh, dude, the thing tame has like 5,000 health. This is
That's
like, oh,
awesome.
dude, I was blown away. And then everybody's like, yeah, dude, this is like the best early game tame. I'm like, what are you talking about? I've never even heard of this. And then like you like, hit a bush and you get like a bazillion fiber. And then
Yeah.
like I'm like, oh my gosh, you can like change like what it levels up. I'm like, dude, this is an insane mount.
Yeah, that's awesome, man.
Therizino.
Yeah, Therazinos. Yeah, those are really strong. Yeah, super strong. Except I feel like those would be hard to get. Although now in ASA, it's not hard to get anything, with babies. But prior to that, I think it'd be hard to get. I mean, the Theory. I don't know how long it would take. You know what I mean? Like, what's the best way? You'd have to probably kite it. Probably kite it to like a rock or something that it couldn't reach you on and knock it out.
Yeah.
Tow it up. That's the way to go.
Bro, those things destroy you, dude. We call them tickle chickens.
Of course, yeah. The old tickle chicken's my favorite dino, man. Got
Oh,
to get one as soon as they get on the server.
oh, I mean, yeah.
Between that and the
My
otter, of
favorite
course.
normally used to be. I mean, I'm sorry, not favorite, but like my normal first thing to always get would be a Terry, like
Yeah.
Well, yeah.
loading into a fresh map on official. Yeah, dude, it's always you got to get that pterodon as soon as you possibly can so you can get up and traveling. Otherwise, you're stuck on foot.
That's fair. I skipped like a Terry, Parasaur, Trike. I skipped like the first couple work dinos, but the first one that I'm like, yeah, let's go get a real dino. That's a thing.
Yeah, yeah. You're like, well, I mean, I don't blame you, dude. They're crazy, so they're
Yeah,
super good.
theories are awesome, man. Well, do you have any questions for us, man?
No, man, I don't have any questions whatsoever, dude. I think that I think it was good, man. I think it was good. I think we spent a lot of time, obviously, not talking about Ark, which makes sense. But like, I think overall, thank you very much for having me on the podcast, man. It was absolute, blessing to be part of it. And yeah, dude, I will be for sure to share it out to everybody, share it to my community, so that if they want to tune in and check out everything about you guys. And I appreciate you guys sticking true to what you do.
Awesome, man. Well, we
Very
appreciate
much.
you, hitting us up, asking, like whatever you being on here, man. And like truly appreciate it. That's just was nice to see that.
Yeah,
And yeah, just thanks, man.
yeah, dude, absolutely, man. I appreciate it.
Well, folks, thank you very much to Graham and Exodia for hanging out in the recording booth with us. And those of you that listen this far into the episode, we greatly appreciate you. Go ahead and check out Kodeation's page. Go drop him some likes, give him a subscribe if you have not already, and help his page grow so he can continue to provide content for us. And aside from that, folks, enjoy your week and keep on surviving.
Survivors, keep on surviving. Arcane, also thank you. You know, since Matt didn't want to shout you out there, but Survivors.
I didn't have the thing open. I'm sorry, Arcane.
Survivors, keep on surviving and have a great week.